How to have your full power at your fingertips. This video is intended for executive coaches, both new and seasoned, who want to develop their highly successful coaching businesses with ease and joy and grow their business and profits and themselves to their full potential. Executive presence is what we're going to be talking about today, and it's intangible, but also very powerful. Do you know how to be fully present in any situation so that you can have that power at your fingertips anytime you wish? Today, I'm going to share some guidelines that will help you with that. I'm Karen Cappello, and before I go into my lesson, I want to let you know why I'm so passionate to share this information and these insights with you. Before I came into coaching, I was an investment advisor in the estate planning field, and I was working 60 to 70 hours per week. Literally, I was really successful. I made the $1 Million Roundtable my second year, but I was completely exhausted. Maybe you can relate. All I wanted to do was work less hours, which was easy enough to do since I was working so many. I wanted to wake up without a blaring alarm clock. We had those in those days. And I want to wear comfy clothes and maintain the lifestyle I had created for myself. And I'm happy to tell you I've done just that. And I now help executive coaches who were high achievers and leaders in the corporate world generate their own clients and income so they can make an impact on others while maintaining the lifestyle they're accustomed to. It's important. During my coach training, I was introduced to a set of guidelines that helped to create a safe and sacred learning environment. And they were a list of agreements made by participants in a seminar that allowed them to learn easier, quicker, and with more joy. These agreements were called the Standards of Presence by Coach for Life. I began using these principles outside the classroom also to support me to be fully present in all areas of my life, and they work like a charm. In order for you to understand the importance of this list of guidelines, let me tell you a little bit more about my life leading up to my coach training. And maybe you can relate to this. All of my life, strangers have come up to me and asked me for directions. People on planes have shared their life stories and struggles with me. People I hardly knew would come to me for advice. I'll bet this has happened to you too, as it has to most coaches I know. And I always wondered, why did this happen? Did I have a sign on my forehead painted there that said, "Talk to me"? All I was doing was sitting there. In fact, one time I was sitting on the floor in an airport with my shoulders against the wall, waiting to board a plane, reading a book. And a woman sat down next to me and said, "I don't want to board this plane." It turns out she was going home on Thanksgiving to a family that was very dysfunctional. And I simply listened to her. She felt better. And when I got off the plane on the other end, my friend who was picking me up immediately asked me if I had heard from anyone on the flight who wanted my help. It was almost predictable that people would talk to me about anything that was going on. What has this got to do with the standards of being fully present, you might ask? Well, when I looked at those guidelines, I realized the times in my life when others had approached me were when I had been fully present. These were times when I was on trips, or when I was waiting to be seated at my favorite restaurant, or when I was just relaxing. Times when I was in the moment. Yet at those times when people approached me, it seemed it was a hit or miss thing, not something I deliberately had any control over. Going back to the standards of presence, there are a set of guidelines that contain a precise methodology. And I realized that by using this methodology, it put me in my full presence whenever I wanted to be. This was a very new concept to me, to deliberately be able to get into my full presence, to be able to be immersed in life, and as immersed as when I was in the middle of my workday as I was when I was on vacation. And to be able to know exactly how to do this anytime I wanted, that was priceless. So with these standards, I could literally get into a state of being where I was extremely powerful and attractive, where everything I wanted just came to me. I was hooked. If I've piqued your interest, I'll tell you now how to get a copy of those standards in a few minutes, because to go through them all would probably take me a while here. But first, another story of the power of these guidelines. When I came home from my coach training, I began my coaching practice by giving complimentary coaching consultations. This is what we had been taught. And I had a phenomenal close rate. 24 out of 25 of my first consultations became paying clients. It was amazing. My mentors were very curious about this, and they asked me if I was using the same session outline that had been given to the whole class. And I said I was. My results were astoundingly different, though, than my classmates. And my mentors really wanted to find out what I was doing that had all those people signing up for coaching. They knew there was something different. So we went through the whole entire outline. And it turns out that I was actually using that very same outline that everyone else was using, but there was one addition. I was adding in the standards of presence. I would just let each prospective client know in the beginning of the session that these were the guidelines I was committed to as their coach for the time we were together. And because I was so fully present, and because my prospective clients heard my commitment to this, my consultations were so powerful, and they signed up for coaching right then and there. In fact, I remember one session where a businesswoman said to me, "I don't know what you're doing, but this is not like any other coaching session I've ever been in. It's so much more powerful and effective." In fact, at one point in that session, she was in tears herself. Since the first day I was handed these standards of presence, they've been a beacon for me to live up to every day. Practicing a set of guidelines that will help you deliberately get into your full presence is a really great enrollment tool to have. So, if you'd like to have all this power at your fingertips and you'd like a copy of the standards of presence, send me a message and I'll send them to you. And while you're at it, if you're a senior leader who's left the corporate world or who is about to and is interested in starting your own executive coaching business, message me to see how we can shortcut the time that it's going to take to replace that corporate income. It's important that we keep the lifestyle that we're used to, but with a lot more ease and joy. I have a series of 5 questions that I'll ask you that will determine a time range in which it's highly probable for you to maintain that lifestyle you're accustomed to with all the freedom of being your own boss. It could be shorter than you think. So if this is you, let's talk.